I'm Bria Maranthus with Mike Fisher. We are here at Cowboys training camp at Dallas Cowboys headquarters, no longer in Oxnard, California, which means the Cowboys regular season is right around the corner. Jerry Jones just spoke, so did Mike McCarthy, and you have 10 takeaways. So let's get started with number one. How excited Mike McCarthy is to see his offensive line play together during camp this week.
So excited for a Thursday workout and then some work Friday, that if you really went down the hall with Mike McCarthy, he would tell you that as much as they want the Saturday night game against the Raiders, they got to see some kids and figure out the 53rd man on the roster. But what's more important, the 53rd man on the roster or the top 5 linemen who have not practiced together, really, because of the Zach Martin contract holdout. So the most important thing for Mike McCarthy this week, in addition to staying healthy, and we'll get into some of that over the course of our coverage of the Cowboys, of course, is not who's going to be the 10th offensive lineman. It's let's get work for the first 5.
Together.
Who's going to be the 10th defensive lineman? Not as important as getting the best 5 together and getting their work together. The Zach Martin thing, he will be fine in terms of acclimating himself.
He's done it before.
And he kept himself in outstanding condition, worked with the coach trainer, Duke Mayweather, who's one of the best in the business. So that part's fine. But the chemistry of an offensive line that needs to work in an interlocking way, they did not get to do that. Zach Martin is a really good guy to roll out of bed and play. If there's any guy that can roll out of bed and play, it's him. But the links in a chain, the meshing of this offensive line, the Thursday practice in that particular way is actually more important than the Saturday game.
Jerry Jones was also asked about the Jonathan Taylor situation with the Indianapolis Colts. What did you make of Jones' comments?
And you can make an argument saying that, hey, Jerry likes to make a splash. And over the course of 34 years, there's a track record of that. But look more closely at what they've done in recent years. They don't do that. The Gilmore trade. Now he was defensive player of the year, but he's not a household name. That's not a splash. That's not Dion. They could have tried to pursue Jalen Ramsey from the Rams. That's a splash. They didn't do it that way. The acquisition for Brandon Cooks. DeAndre Hopkins is a splash. He's made multiple he's an all-pro player. Brandon Cooks isn't that. They didn't make the splash. So Jerry said it in 2 bites, and if you want to misappropriate his comments when he said, oh yeah, he said, yeah, he said, yeah, like 3 times. He said, yeah, Jonathan Taylor. We always look at everything.
You speak Jerry.
Right. So if you only listened for the first 5 seconds, you heard him say, yes, we're interested in Jonathan Taylor. But that's not really what he said, and that's not what he meant. Because then he went on, if you listen to
the rest of it,
you're working through his word salad, he says we're really happy with the running backs we have. I like the argument. I think it's a great barroom debate. There's a guy out there who's a brilliant talent. He's 24. He doesn't want to be where he is. They don't want to pay him, but you already have a $10 million running back. You're really going to have 2 $10 million running backs? It doesn't make salary cap sense, even though Jonathan Taylor is a highly attractive player. Unfortunately for him, and the Bills can kick around that idea. The Patriots can kick around that idea. The Rams, the Washington Commanders. Unfortunately, Indy's pulled a little bit of a fast one here. We give you permission to go seek your own trade, knowing full well that when they come to us and say, we like Jonathan Taylor, and then we say, good, give us 2 first-round picks, they'll hang up the phone. So it's a little bit of a scam. Unfortunately, Jonathan Taylor is probably stuck in Indianapolis, as cool as it would look for him to go to a contender like Buffalo, or to maybe elevate somebody like the Commanders to becoming a contender. I don't think that's very good likelihood.
Okay, Mike, your point number 3 from Jerry Jones' press conference today at Cowboys opening ceremonies training camp for Dallas is all about the trade value chart. Explain.
So this comes up every year, and it's being ballyhooed on social media now, the Jimmy Johnson trade value chart, which is something that this organization designed in 1991. Before that, it was really just grab bag. I want to trade my first round pick to you. What will you give me for it? And then teams just made up their own offers. And they did that for 50 years. And then in 1991, this organization said, why don't we create a way to understand each other's language so $1 equals 4 quarters. That makes sense, right?
Yep.
If you didn't know what $1 was worth, and I said, I'll trade you $1. Give me 100 dimes. If you don't know what $1's worth, maybe you'd say yes. So it's called the Jimmy Johnson trade value chart. And I don't say this to cut down Jimmy at all,
right,
or his brilliance, but it's not his chart. A guy named Mike McCoy, who passed away, by the way, recently, who was Jerry Jones' right-hand oil and gas man and a brilliant mathematician, he invented it. And he brought it to Jimmy and said, look what I've done. I've created this chart where the first overall pick is worth 3,000 points. And then it goes down, 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 all the way down to the very bottom. I think the last pick in the last round is worth 5 points. Meaning, you got to come up with this many picks to equal 3,000.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy, of course, put it into practice, and Jerry too.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of sad, especially because Mike McCoy has passed away. You know, he wasn't a football guy at all. He was a math guy and an oil and gas guy. But I think it's a little sad. I frankly wish Jimmy Johnson would announce that they should call it the, you know, I want Jimmy to get recognized in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
I want Jimmy to recognize Mike McCoy as the inventor of the Jimmy Johnson trade value chart.
Okay, I like that take. Let's move on to point number 4 or 5. I'm losing track already. Mazi Smith, everybody loves the rookie.
Yeah.
And today Jerry Jones was asked about Mazi. He's super excited about him. I thought it was interesting that he made the point that he can't wait to watch Mazi against the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah. Well, and this is point number 4 in our presentation. And you were the one that was kind of posing the question about Mazi, because obviously he's had some ups and downs as he kind of learns what he's doing around here. There's a list of guys, and we'll get into this too over the course of our coverage of the Cowboys on cowboyssi.com and the Fish Report. There's a list of guys that aren't going to play against the Raiders on Saturday and shouldn't.
Yeah.
Mazi's not on that list. And McCarthy will tell you he needs the snaps. And Jerry will tell you once he gets the snaps, as he told you, he's going places.
Right.
They have a great deal of belief in Mazi Smith, but right now, this is not atypical. This is pretty normal. That he's just trying to figure out where do I even stand for the national anthem? This organization is very confident that Mazi Smith's going to get it figured out.
And the first word that came to mind when Jerry Jones talked about him was strength. Can't wait to watch that.
The broadest shoulders in the building.
Right.
And eventually those broad shoulders will carry a load here.
Point number 5, you might have seen Brandon Cooks flying his teammates in Seattle above Lumen Field. I kind of loved it. Jerry Jones was like, wow, I am so glad I did not realize that was happening, because he had not only in his playing his good friend Stephon Gilmore, but also Micah Parsons.
Yes.
And Mike McCarthy says he's more used to this, right? Like he's seen this happen more often.
He's had players do that.
Yes.
Buddies, one of his role models, Marty Schottenheimer, was involved in that. The problem with talking about this is you don't want to say, I don't trust Brandon Cooks to be a pilot.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you can tell your pilot.
Yeah.
I don't trust you. No, I can have complete trust in you. I know you can do it. That's great. But yeah, Jerry said, I'm glad they didn't tell me before it happened.
Yeah, I think that's fair as well.
But then Jerry also said, worst kind of pilot you could be is a part-time pilot.
That is true.
But the fact is, you know, there's some limit.
Yeah.
There's some line you don't cross. But guys go parachuting.
If that's the worst thing they do, they'll be fine.
I think it was McCarthy who said, just make sure you got 3 parachutes in the plane, and I think we're going to be fine.
Yep. What was your point number 6 from the press conference?
Point number 6 is about the plan to not play anybody. I don't mean to say anybody of value, but not to play any proven guys.
Okay.
And they're not going to play anybody. The Cowboys are. They'll go 3 games and not do this. And McCarthy called it risk management, and we'll get into Jerry's response in a little bit. But he said, you know, my 2006 team, I think he said, we had all rookies, so we played. They all played. This team doesn't need that.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott, Zach Martin, Tank Lawrence.
McCarthy's lost too many players in his time as a head coach in preseason.
And I argue so have all the other teams.
Yeah.
That the risk assessment that the Cowboys are very much doing the right thing here.